Thank you very much once again for joining us on today's show. The topic is meditation versus self-hypnosis, and really they're one and the same. I know that sometimes we tend to go on about them. I've written papers about them to achieve my various PhDs, but truly there are individual distinctions. They're almost hairline differences. If you were to walk down a corridor and there was a door, let's say on your left, and you turn, it says meditation in progress, and you peered in quietly, you happen to peer in, well, you likely would have begun to smell incense, maybe see candles, see pillows on the floor if the meditation teacher is so inclined. Maybe what we term judgmentally hippie beads, pictures on the wall with a Buddha or various other saints, etc. It definitely will have a spiritual feel. You may hear meditation music very gently or softly, or classical music, candles. I think I said candles already. Now, if you continue walking down the corridor on your right-hand side, it might say therapist, either hypnotherapist or psychotherapist, and perhaps he's doing a session with his clients or patients, or perhaps he's teaching a group self-hypnosis. And I like to call it self-hypnosis because basically you're doing it to yourself. There's no Svengali, there's no person with all this power that forces his will on anybody. You can't be hypnotized if you don't want to. The level of self-hypnosis that you go into, again, is determined by yourself and karma, various other factors. So let's say there's a person leading self-hypnosis. What would the office look like? And I do say office as opposed to the more hippie-ish, if you will, like environment. Well, it'll look like an office. You'll have filing cabinets, you'll have a desk, you'll probably have a couch that the person is laying on, or a very comfortable lazy boy recliner that the person is sitting on. They may have headphones, they might be listening to music, they might be listening to pre-recorded audio commands that you recorded or someone else did. It's really, really cool. It's a little bit more clinical. Clinical is more the distinction, more the word between self-hypnosis and meditation. Now, we can also break down Western and Eastern meditation. Self-hypnosis is self-hypnosis. Generally, it's used to correct or to alter unwanted behavior, such as smoking, such as weight loss, if you want to lose weight, such as self-esteem, self-confidence. But really, with meditation, you can accomplish the exact same things. It just depends on your client. I remember early on in my career, I'd have clients, because they knew I was a clinical hypnotherapist and a meditation teacher, I'd have specific students, patients, or clients ask either for clinical hypnotherapy or specifically for meditation to treat them, either through meditative treatments or prayer treatments, etc. But really the point is the person goes into altered states. Commands are given to reprogram the unconscious mind, whether they're meditating or in self-hypnotic state, and then they slowly and gently come back to this physical illusionary world that much better. With Eastern and Western meditation, which I alluded to, Eastern meditation is for the purposes of divine contact. We often refer to it as higher consciousness meditation or mystical or contact meditation. But Western meditation is more of that tra-la-la-la-la new agey thing where you're walking through a forest and you're feeling good. It'll still probably get you to light meditative state or light hypnotic state. Nothing wrong with it. But if you want to make divine contact through Eastern meditation, which is what I specialize in, wow, you certainly can make those changes when you contact the divine. You can't help but change things when your energy factors are that of your very maker. Mystical meditation. Mystical or contact meditation is the basis for your true spiritual evolution and your spiritual practice. Even if you did nothing else but meditate in the way I'm about to describe, you will lead a healthier, prosperous, peaceful, and more fulfilled life. Add a prayer treatment or scientific affirmative prayer into your practice, and you will truly be on your way to cozying yourself up to God, cleaning up the trash bin of the various levels of your mind in the process. Quite simply, mystical or contact meditation attunes you to God's healing energy, which is pure universal love. The more you meditate, the more attuned and healed you become. Keep in mind that what I'm about to describe is not Western meditation, consisting of guided meditation designed to temporarily make you feel happy or to eliminate unwanted behaviors such as overeating and smoking, as with hypnotherapy, but Eastern meditation designed to be practiced in silence without someone else speaking or leading you into altered state for divine contact. Hence the name, contact or mystical meditation. Remember, too, that you must unfailingly practice meditation several times daily ad infinitum. The length of time of each session will increase, but minimum 5 minutes at first will be somewhat effective. Although your goal will be 5 minutes, I suspect that you'll go longer, as is the case with most people. Developing good habits at first is also recommended, such as picking a place in your home that feels right for your meditative sessions. Sit on a pillow on the floor. Sit on your favorite chair. Be comfortable above all, as you don't want to be distracted by body discomfort. In fact, you don't want to and won't have an awareness of your physical body at all in time. You can strike a yoga pose if it feels right, as long as you can sit for a potentially long time without falling over or falling asleep. Falling asleep is counterproductive, as you want to keep an awareness of your breath at the very least, let alone of any light and other sensations you might experience, such as joy. Burn any kind of gentle and pleasant-smelling incense if you want to set a mood. Have white candles burning as well if you so desire, both for the mood-setting aspect as well as the energy-cleansing effect that white candles will have on your environment. Sitting with your back straight will help the twin serpentine male-female kundalini, coiled one, in Sanskrit, energies to rise up your spine as they wind their way around it, originating from the base of your spine. The theory is the base of your spine, like the mercury in a thermometer, heats up the longer that you sit and begins to rise up, carrying the twin energies upward and around your spine. This is an ancient Sanskrit concept that original primal or God energy, Shakti, exists at the base of the spine as it awakens and rises so that potentially enlightenment may be achieved. Nonetheless, sitting with your back straight may assist in this occurring, and it will certainly help in keeping you awake. Next, you must gently shut your eyes and gaze upward and back towards your brow or third eye area. The third eye, also known as the inner eye, is a mystical and esoteric concept referring to a speculative, invisible eye which provides perception beyond ordinary sight. In certain Dhammic spiritual traditions, such as Hinduism, the third eye refers to the ajna, or brow chakra. It has been clinically proven that if you gaze upward and back with eyes open or shut towards your brow area, a strain will be created on your eyes, thus resulting in you closing your eyes and going into an altered state naturally. As a clinical hypnotherapist, I've used this method many times. After about a minute or so, the subject always seems to drift off, so to speak. As with hypnosis, focusing on something as well as repetition is important at this point while meditating. Follow the rhythm of your breath while gazing upon your brow or third eye area. Be aware of the in-breath, the out-breath, and then back to the in-breath again as never-ending occurrences. In lieu of the in and out focusing, you can, as in Zen, focus instead on the up and downward movement of your breath. On the in-breath, the up, on the out-breath, the down. In time, you can follow this as a never-ending cycle or ball. Choose which feels right. Now, for health purposes, you must also add this, as in traditional Chinese medicine it is believed that the qi is the life force, originating in the belly or dantian. On the in-breath, your tummy expands to take in the qi, and on the out-breath, the tummy will contract, releasing the qi again in a never-ending cycle. This is in lieu of you using your lungs, which is the opposite, expanding on the inhale and contracting on the exhale. Using your dantian in this way supposedly adds years to your life. It really is not much to think about, and in no time you will be doing all of this at once. Remember, eyes closed, third eye gazing, focusing on your breath while tummy expands and contracts. That's all you need to do initially. Practice this for months, lengthening your meditation sessions to 20 minutes. 20 minutes is all you really need, but if you can go longer, all the better. In time, you may begin to see a light at your brow or third eye area. This is good. If not, begin to visualize light emanating from both your third eye and heart chakra area. They need not be any specific colors, but if you want to, imagine one gold, the other one white. Imagine the light from your heart or soul chakra pulsating towards and into your head to encourage that intuition or God guidance. That's it. If you can meditate like this for 20 minutes at least twice a day, you are well on your way to better health, peace, and prosperity. I would be at fault at this point if I were not to mention what Dr. Masters refers to as the outer closure technique from his Meditation Dynamics course. These were also some of the techniques given to me by a Mahatma while I was 29. The idea being is that you are shutting out any exterior and environmental sights and sounds so that you can completely focus and welcome the experiences of the divine. In the first technique, or light, the meditator focuses on their forehead at a spot between and a little above the eyebrows. The thumb and first two fingers of the dominant hand help with this, the index finger resting lightly on the correct spot on the forehead, and the thumb and middle finger resting lightly on each closed eyeball to steady and stop the eyeballs from moving. When you are to actually focus, your sight is never stated. Do you stare through the colored shapes and blackness behind the closed eyelids into infinity? Do you focus right on the back of your eyelids, trying to make sense of the swirling colors, the black light you see there? Do you actually focus not on what you see, but on the spot on your forehead where your index finger rests? Do you turn your eyeballs upwards to the spot, or do you keep a level, horizontal gaze? In the second technique, or music, the meditator stops their ears with each thumb, twisting slightly so that the fingers of each hand rest on the top of the head. The technique is then to listen to what you hear, the sound of the spheres, or the sound of silence, or is it a sound like a waterfall? Is that just a physical manifestation of the pulse in the thumbs in the ear, or the trapped air in the closed ear canal? And if it is, do you listen to it, or do you listen through it, trying to find some ineffable celestial sound beyond it? Are you trying to listen to a silence beyond it? These first two techniques involve placing one's hand, in the first technique, or both hands, as in the second, up to your head. This can be tiring and causes arm muscle fatigue. For the first 16 or so years that Prem Rawat was teaching in the West, it was common for meditators to use a baragon, which was an armrest shaped like a T about 2 feet high. The bottom of the stem of the T rested on the floor or a cushion you were sitting on, and each elbow rested on the cross piece of the T. In the mid-'80s, Prem Rawat discouraged the use of baragons or any form of armrest, and the meditator was required to hold their arms up without support. Baragons are recommended by other gurus, and indeed one design has been patented. The third technique, or holy name, or the word, is simply to follow your breath.
Many meditation traditions involve watching the breath in some way, as previously stated, but most traditions give clear instructions on how to do this, since in fact you can use your breath in many different ways to create many different mind states. Prem Rawat says very little about it. His most common instruction while demonstrating the technique is to move his head up, or rather his hand up and down in front of him as he breathes in and out. The implication being that you are to follow the in-breath and out-breath upwards and downwards, or is it downwards and upwards, from your nose to the base of the lungs or the abdomen and up again. Another instruction he sometimes gives is that you follow your breath like you are sitting on an inner swing, with Prem Rawat pulsing the swing. This is one of the clearest signs in recent times that Rawat is still inferring that he is a power inside the meditator helping and guiding their meditation. The fourth and final technique, or nectar, involves curling the tongue upward and placing the tip of the tongue where? Well, for many years the instruction was to place it on the roof of the mouth as far back as you could possibly force it. The goal being to make it go behind the uvula, the little skin flap that hangs down at the throat entrance, and up the rear nasal passage as far as you could. The ultimate fanciful notion was to touch the base of the brain and make a cosmic connection, although there are no reports of anyone being actually able to do this. Turning the tongue back in this way is a well-known yoga technique called Kekari Mudra. In more recent times, Prem Rawat has dropped all references to the uvula and just required the meditators to rest the tip of their tongue on the roof of the mouth in a manner that is comfortable, even if they cannot get it any higher than the back of their front teeth. But again, on what is the meditator to focus? Just where the tip of the tongue is physically, or through it in some sense, or do you focus on what you taste? The aforementioned techniques may sound culturally foreign to you, but all have their basis either in Zen Buddhism and or Hinduism. The nectar technique, for example, is as old as time and specific to mystics in Hinduism. The act of putting your tongue as far back while touching the tip of the roof of your mouth also creates a calming physiological effect. In traditional Chinese medicine, the roof of the mouth, palate, and anus are specific energy points, hanyin points, where one might lose energy or qi. Therefore, by shutting them, you develop your qi for better health and longevity. Practice all or some of the techniques I've shared here and enjoy doing them, for they are the very crucial basis of your spiritual practice and the key to oneness with your higher self or God. They are also crucial to your health and wellness, mind, body, and soul, as well as being the most important key to prayer.
And so, let's say you don't have that exterior support. If you've been meditating, if you're in touch with that higher self, higher intelligence, God mind, if you will, perfect mind, then nothing's going to get in the way. It's a buffer, if you will, and we'll be driven to take action without thought of failure. We won't see ourselves as losers, which is a very extreme term, but we'll see ourselves more as winners, just accomplishing. And it's almost like it just keeps flowing. One thing leads to another. We're led intuitively, because when we open that mind shaft from the very perfect mind up through our conscious level of our mind, and everything is cleaned up, well, you bet, intuition or God guidance leads the way. And we know on some level or another, okay, let's go here, or let's do this, or we feel good and we're suddenly inspired to take this direction. Just do it. So that's one of the benefits of meditation. When I speak of meditation, I speak of Eastern meditation. It's more than 10,000 years old, maybe more than that. Mystical meditation, another name for that is contact meditation. Another name for that is higher consciousness meditation. And it's for the express purpose of making divine contact. In other faiths and belief systems, you can say, well, we want to cozy on up to God. We want to develop a relationship with God. And this is running parallel to that concept and idea that when you sit and you still your mind, there's no barriers between your conscious mind and your higher mind. And so you connect and you develop a relationship. So with mystical meditation, it's the greatest tool in the world. It's been already proven that any form of meditation, clinically proven that is, will at the very least lower your blood pressure, at the very least it will relax you, at the very least it will ground you. And I know it's a very, very interesting time of all different kinds of belief systems and tools out there. And they're all shiny and they seem new, and most of them are not new. Most of them have been channeled or gone through various sources, if you will, and sound like something new. But I guarantee you, if you do your homework and you trace them all back, they have roots that are more than 10, 100,000 years old, if not more. There's nothing new. It's always the wheel being reinvented. And so with meditation, a very simple tool, you have to discipline yourself. You have to sit down. And in my latest book, I kind of encourage 3 times a day, 20 minutes each time. And that's a lot. It's well worth it. You won't not accomplish things if you say sit down for 10 minutes of quiet contemplation or meditation, or do that twice a day, so it results in 20 minutes in the 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening. I guarantee you over time, you'll see results. You'll stop biting your fingernails. You'll stop being agitated. Your driving habits will be more calm. Over years, people will notice that. And I recall years after, I guess, high school or college, I ran into friends after 20 years of meditating, and they almost didn't recognize me. In that, apparently, I was more calm. I was a more patient driver. I attribute that to meditation. I don't attribute that to the many speeding tickets and accidents I'd been in previously that kind of taught me, don't speed, slow down, enjoy the trip, enjoy the journey. I attribute it to years and years of meditation, calming my mind. But it's a lot more than that. With meditation, or mystical meditation, if you will, there's a calmness, there's a serenity, there's a peace that passeth all understanding. But it's really more than that, because you're actually contacting God. How do we know when we've contacted God, or if we're in the presence of our higher mind or God? A peace overtakes us, a calm overtakes us, an optimism, a joy, a contentment. If you feel any or all of that for moments at a time or periods at a time, you're one with God. You're one with your source, one with your maker, if you will. And it's a very, very exciting experience, even though you feel calm, because you know you're well on your way. So, in Eastern versus Western psychology, which is actually the title of one of my other books, Western Psychology versus Eastern Psychology, we acknowledge various levels of the mind. In Western psychology, there is merely the libido at the very center of one's mind, if you follow Western psychology. And the libido is the instinct for survival. It's also sex drive, if you will. The next level up is the personal subconscious or subconscious mind, where we store traumas, memories, all kinds of things. Some people call it the memory bank. And then finally, we have the conscious level of our mind. As a clinical hypnotherapist, I explore all those levels. I take you in altered state to these various levels of your mind to clean them up, to heal them, but you're really healing them yourself. I'm merely a guide. That's a topic for another show. So, Eastern psychology acknowledges way more levels of the mind that need to be cleaned up. Some people refer to it as the trash bin of our minds. In future shows, I'm going to have other clinical hypnotherapists guests, and we'll discuss this further. But suffice it to say, at the very center and nucleus of your mind, if you follow Eastern psychology, or theocentric psychology, or spiritual mind science, if you will, is God, is perfect mind, that spark. It's also at the very center and nucleus of every single one of the trillions of our cells, our tissues, our organs. if you've taken a microscope, an electronic microscope, as scientists have proven in the lab, they see that there's this spark, there's something in the middle of everything. And there's no refuting that. That's absolute truth. Even the air, solid objects outside of ourselves are still comprised of God, the God particle. You may have heard that term. Google it if you haven't. And so that means there's no place that God is not, on the outside, on the inside. It's almost like we're a fish in a fishbowl, and the water is God. And the water is inside and outside of us, if you like that analogy. We're also an extension of God, if you like to think that we're a mere drop from the ocean. We live in the ocean, and we're one of the droplets of waters that comprises the ocean. That's another neat comparison as well. Regardless, I believe it was Einstein who likened the power of God to a nuclear bomb, to nuclear fusion. He said it was that powerful. Back then in the 20s and 30s, that was the greatest explanation or analogy or comparison he had. But that's true. Now, this power can be used for good or bad, but it's God, it's source, it's higher intelligence, therefore we are automatically dealing with a good power, positive power. Anything that works with or deals with or starts to contemplate negativity, we're working with another part of our mind called the personal ego will, or personal ego identity. Personal ego identity is the opposite of perfect mind. It's the flawed mind. It's the part of our unconscious mind, and I'm still going to refer to the various levels, that hasn't been cleaned up yet. So our personal ego will, or personal ego identity, makes us think we want things or people or objects that may not necessarily be in our greatest interest. So perhaps we've decided, because we have the money, or worse, that we don't, that we want a fancier, expensive car, or we want clothing, or we want this partner, or we want this job or situation. There's nothing wrong with having ambition. I know a lot of Buddhist script says, don't be ambitious. That's not quite the meaning of it. They mean stay calm and allow yourself to be guided by higher power to know what you really want, or what's in your greatest interest, as deemed by God. So, in this lifetime, we have soul's purpose. We have multiple soul's purposes, which is God's will for us in this lifetime. And we can only access that through years of ongoing regular meditation, which clears out the various unconscious levels of our mind. So we're not hindered anymore. We're almost channeling Source. Source comes up and intuitively or literally says to us, consciously or otherwise, this is really what's in your greatest interest and in the greatest interest of others. And it could be many, many things. It usually is, as we physically grow, and then we mentally and emotionally grow, and then we start to age and we grow some more, then God responds to that. God guides us based on where we are in our life, emotionally and spiritually. And so, very central nucleus of our mind is the God mind, perfect mind, if you will. Up from that, and if you sit and meditate, you can start to clear these up yourself. Put yourself into altered state. Self-hypnotize yourself. That's also the topic for another show and many of my books. And then you begin to access, you begin to visualize going up the stairs of your mind. First going down the stairs of your mind to put yourself into altered state, and then stepping up. So, because it's easier for me to tackle it this way, I will. At the very center nucleus of our mind, God, perfection. Meditation allows God to seep up and start to heal the various levels. The next level up from Source, if you will, or perfection, or perfect mind, is your soul level of your mind. And that's really close to God. It's really, it's almost perfection. And in there resides mostly positive, good, higher resonating experiences, feelings, memories, etc. And it's one of my favorite levels besides the center of our mind. Another level up is the collective unconscious. And the great psychologist Carl Jung referred to the collective unconscious, the collective unconsciousness. In essence, we're born into this lifetime with a lot of symbols swimming around in our unconscious mind. This is the level of our mind where there's symbols already embedded because of DNA, because of hundreds of thousands of years of breeding and conditioning, if you will. And so automatically, unconsciously on that level, crosses represent one thing or another. Angels represent another. Stars represent another thing. For example, if our mother beat us, then we may, on that level of our mind, see a demon, and that demon is really our mother, for example. And if we breathe God into that and meditate and do our scientific or affirmative prayer treatments, if we have time, we'll tackle that in this session. It begins to transform and transmute from negativity into God's perfect light, love frequency. The next level up from the collective unconscious, if you will, one of my favorites, it's not what you think though, the psychic energy level. And psychic energy level only refers to non-physical. It refers to that which we visualize or envision or image. And that's another technique that we may or may not tackle for time restraints today. It's very, very exciting level because whatever we visualize or envision during the meditation process, because meditation gives all kinds of visualization power, and it also empowers affirmations. So there's no sense doing affirmations or visualization unless you're in an altered state. Very little will occur. It won't manifest or materialize into anything. But when you're meditating and you happen to visualize, you're visualizing from the psychic energy level. And it's at that point that you can connect to source, that whatever your visualizations are at that level of your mind comes into contact with source, and it begins to materialize. It's just an amazing process. That's why often inspiration is likened to that. An artist, especially, or a dancer, may have a vision, and that's where it originates, and then they do it, or they paint, or it comes into being through the channel or that person, that particular channel. Because after all, we are individualized expressions of the divine, of source. And that's one of the only reasons why we're here, to do our soul's purpose or God's will for us in this lifetime, and to create and to contribute. So one of the final levels of our mind, moving up from there, is the personal subconscious. Personal subconscious is the memory bank, and that certainly needs to be cleared up. Both Eastern and Western psychology agrees that if we've been traumatized, if we've had good or negative experiences, they're there. They reside there, and they must be cleaned up. Meditation will do that. Positive affirmations during meditation or scientific prayer, that's a whole other topic, which we will get to in future shows, future presentations. And it's very, very exciting because there is hope. So then finally, if and when you've cleaned up these various levels of your mind over time, through just meditation alone will do it, then you can accomplish, you can give, you can become a channel. Ultimately, a channel of God for the highest being.